Live.
You are live. We're live.
Streaming live on the internet.
Yeah. Never mind. I'm not even going to go there. So, welcome everybody to the first edition of the Odyssey Hour. I'm going to run out of names really, really quick on what to call different shows.
Yeah.
There's only so many the Odyssey something that I can come up with.
Mm-hmm.
So, while people are filtering in, hey, there we go. And here he is. And one of them being my last investigator, Mr. Scott. I feel like Captain Kirk.
Yeah, now we got
Scott.
the team.
Welcome. We're live. You were late.
Hi.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. You might have to put on headphones, though. Yeah, you're going to have to put on headphones because I can hear me. So, everybody who is watching, I just want to obviously once again introduce myself. My name is Mike, director. You guys know me. I'm the guy that always posts all the shit. But my team, which has not been seen in a while, because it's been a while since I forced you guys to do this with me. So obviously we have Haley.
Hello.
There we go. I was like, wave. Sam.
Hi.
Scott.
Oh.
And our newest investigator who still has to get out into the field with us, Miss Lauren.
Hey.
So what we're going to do here tonight and hopefully every Wednesday night, if not everybody will be joining us for that, but hopefully each week may be able to make some time, is we're just going to discuss kind of any paranormal topic that seems to come up, whether it's cryptid, whether it's alien, whether it's spirit, supernatural, doesn't matter. And we'll take any questions, we'll take any stories. You know, if you guys have something that you heard, something that you experienced, especially during this pandemic time when everybody seems to be having tons of experiences. If you want to get our opinion on them, you can send them. You can send them to me, and that will be part of the show. So tonight, what we have done, and we will probably continue to do, is we each have two topics which we came up with. We have not shared them at all. So none of us knows, unless you guys did it behind my back, but that's fine. But nobody knows what the other topics are. So this should be interesting because you're going to get an initial response or an initial reaction to what the questions are. So I'll start just to kind of kick things off. And I actually had to change one because I realized that Lauren wouldn't be able to talk about what it was because it was more of an experience evidence type thing. So I had to change it. So, but I think this is a good one. And I honestly, this is something that we have not discussed at all. At least I don't think so. And so everybody knows that I am a very heavy equipment guy. Like I have everything. In fact, I even got this today. And basically what that is once that light shuts off, it becomes, it turns on at movement, you know, so we can put it down on the floor. And if something hits it or whatever, moves it, it will light up and let us know. So, and it doesn't have an annoying sound. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. I bought two, but the other one won't work. Shocker.
Oh, great.
It's all right. It was $4, like literally $3.99. So, and you maybe, it's kind of ironic actually, because this is a cat toy. it's made for cats. But it works for the paranormal too. So here's the first topic that I wanted to bring up. There are those like me who really, really like the equipment. They're very equipment heavy. And then there's those like I'll just say Grant Wilson for an example, where they believe a recorder, maybe a camcorder, and your instincts. Period. That's it. That's all you need. Which do you think would work? Which do you think works best? Or what is your opinion on going bare minimum or throwing caution to the wind and bringing in everything?
Are you posing this as like we have to pick one, or can I do a cheater answer?
A cheer answer?
A cheater answer.
Oh, cheater answer.
Yeah.
You can answer however you actually feel.
Well, the way I actually feel is like I think there's a happy medium to equipment and lack of equipment. I do like certain pieces of equipment that we have in our arsenal, and I use them a lot. The REM pod being one of those. The millimeter can be interesting, but I don't really get into a lot of the. I don't want to say gimmicky equipment, because a lot of equipment is just stuff that takes time to be able to use effectively. I think the SLS is one of those pieces of equipment where you have to kind of like to get to know it and what situations it works the best in. But I find that when I investigate, I like having a recorder, a camcorder, a K2, or other device that like a spirit can manipulate to communicate directly, and then you can capture hard evidence of that. And the REM pod is a great example of that, because it puts out the static field, and it's really hard to it's very, very concrete evidence, in my opinion, because the only thing that can set it off is literally something getting close to it. It's hard to like fake, and then of course the walkies set it off. But
I was just gonna say, except the walkies.
Yeah. So I like a happy meat. I like to use a little bit, like a few pieces more than like Grant Wilson would use. But I don't get I feel like if you crowd with too much equipment, it just gets overwhelming to spirits, and they don't want to interact with all of it. That's just how I usually feel about it.
Yeah.
I see a couple you nodding. So yep, Haley, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I think I'm kind of with Sam on the happy medium, and I'd say for me it depends. It's kind of a situation by situation case, I guess. Because I'm not someone who is very intuitive at all. I don't really pick up on feelings, or I'm not really like, oh, we should go to this room or we should go over there. So for me, I like equipment because it gives me some sort of indication that something might be there, where I don't always pick up on that. But if I'm investigating with someone who picks up on that a little bit more, or a lot more than me, then I think equipment isn't as necessary for me. I'm more willing to go with, okay, if you think that the spirit is telling us to go to this certain room, then yeah, I can go with that and follow intuition. But I also agree that I think too much equipment can be kind of detrimental, because I'm just remembering like the first year we were at Ashmore, I think it was the second night maybe, where we had like a spirit box going, and we had everyone there, and there were so many, like someone had the FLIR, I think. There was all this different like stuff happening. It was just way too much like mental stimulation at once. So I guess that's my thoughts. It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Lauren, how about you, newbie?
Yeah, I guess I can't really speak to any experience that I have, that's for sure. But I don't know. I'm more of the I'd rather have a piece of technology there to validate maybe something that I'm feeling, just because I feel like I can second guess myself and then I can't prove it, kind of thing. So I think definitely the happy medium that everybody's talked about so far would probably be my preference, just because then it's like you can physically show somebody, hey, I felt this and this happened at the same time, so it can validate what you were feeling. So it's not just you kind of going crazy, if that makes sense.
So Scott, as the resident sensitive, and everything, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with what the rest of them are saying. Some of the equipment I like, some of it I don't. But
Me too, Scott. Me too.
yeah. But I like having the equipment there as backup and evidence, to prove that there is something physical happening there. It's really happening, and the equipment can show what our feelings can't.
Very, very true. I guess I'm kind of that way, and I've always tried to, I don't want to say defend, but explain the reason for why I am obsessed with buying equipment and having the most. Because to me, going out and trying to help with somebody, or even going to, to a location like Leduc, the Leduc Mansion, or Farrar, or Enberg, or Ashmore, that if I'm going to try and communicate with them, I kind of feel like I haven't done my job unless I give them every avenue of communication that I can. If I go through, if I go to Ashmore with just a recorder and a camcorder, the only way that they're really going to be able to communicate evidence-wise is through EVP, or showing themselves, obviously, if I have the camcorder. However, if for some reason they don't know how to implant their voice into a recorder or use enough energy to manifest themselves, but they can set off the REM pod, or they can set off the K2, or they can appear as the dot or whatever on the SLS or the FLIR, something like that. If they can do that, but not everything else, well, then I gave them that avenue. Whereas if I limit it to just, recorder, camcorder, and that's it, I just feel like maybe I left something on the table that could have helped whatever goal we're trying to have, whether it's a private person, whether it's an event. So I guess that's just mine. So, but I agree with you all. Sometimes I have too much, but I'm trying to get, we'll go to a house and I won't even bring the DVR system because I know we don't need it. So I agree I agree. I think, Sam, you said it, where it just depends on the situation, the case, the location, whatever we are trying to do. Cause I don't bring the damn Boo Bear anywhere, so there's that. So that little case is always out of the trunk. So,
yep.
All right. Who wants to go next? Really?
I
we have to choose somebody. Sam, you want to go?
Oh, sure.
Lauren, let's let the newbie go.
Okay. No pressure.
No pressure.
So I was thinking about this a few days ago, and I'm like, okay, what's one topic that I was really interested to get your guys' opinion on, and just maybe learn a little bit more about. And the first thing that came to my mind was on quite a few investigative shows that I've watched and stuff like that. They always talk about when you're going into a paranormal investigation, if there's a big electrical storm or natural occurring event, it provides a little bit of energy in the atmosphere and almost kicks some of the activity up. And I was very curious because I honestly don't know that much about it. And I don't know how you really can prove that, because all of the extra energy in the atmosphere is creating these events, or amplifying them, I guess, if you will. So I guess I just kind of wanted to get everybody's opinion here. Do you think that's a valid explanation for maybe a upkick in energy during one night compared to another? Or how do you think that affects an investigation when there's a major natural energy spike in the atmosphere around the location that you're looking at?
One of you guys want to go first, or me?
Yeah, I'll go first. It's definitely something I've heard a lot. And I don't know if anybody's done extended I guess research on that to I'm pretty sure I've heard that repeated by every paranormal show I've ever watched has said lightning and electrical storms and rain and stuff like that, puts more energy into the atmosphere. And if you subscribe to the theory that spirits use the energy in the air around them to manifest and stuff like that, it makes sense as a theory. But I know for a fact we've had investigations where it's been either like, another example is like people think that full moons can contribute to, more activity and stuff like that. And I know for a fact we've been at investigations where there has been rain and lightning and stuff, at least around. And like, at least in the short time I've been an investigator, I haven't seen really a change. And I don't know if it's enough of an effect to really, I think much more there are other factors that determine whether or not there's a lot of energy in a place and things happen. There's so many different factors. I'm not saying it can't be a contributing factor, because again, if you subscribe to the theory, the common theory that spirits suck energy out of the air and stuff like that, and that's why there's cold spots and hot spots and things like that. It makes sense, but my personal observation, I haven't really noticed that much of a difference, but I also haven't been an investigator for that long. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, okay, sorry, I'm trying to think of a way to like gather my thoughts, I guess. I think I'm certainly open to that theory, and I like it because it feels like, I don't know, I'm a chemistry major. I like that it feels very scientific, that it's like there's this lightning storm happening, there's extra energy in the air, in the atmosphere, in the molecules, whatever, that spirits could possibly harness. I do really like that idea and that theory. But like Sam said, I haven't witnessed it myself. I don't remember I know we've been on investigations where there was storms happening, and I don't recall, feeling any different because of it. Yeah, I guess I don't know if I have much else to add. I think that'd be something that'd be really interesting if like people were to do like actual research on that. Like how does that, and maybe there is research out there, but how does a storm impact, the energy that's in the atmosphere? I don't really know the answer, but I like it.
Scott, you have anything to add?
I basically agree with them. It's a storm does put more energy into the atmosphere, ionizes the atmosphere. But just because there's more energy there doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to use it. So I think it's there for them to use if they choose to, but I haven't noticed yet I haven't noticed them using it to their advantage all that much.
Yeah, neither have I. I've had several investigations where it was rainy, it was lightning all around. Like I almost just stopped investigating to look out the window. I mean, and these were I think 2 years in a row at Edinburgh Manor that happened. And that was a 2-night investigation. So one night it happened, one night it didn't. And I honestly did not see any sort of uptick. And as a paranormal investigator, like especially Dave, like anytime there's going to be lightning in the air, it's like, oh, we're in for a great night. And Scott, I think you're absolutely right. Just because it's in the air doesn't mean they're going to use it. Or at least use it to help you or to communicate with you. It's the same as the Halloween thing, All Hallows Eve. It's supposed to be the thinnest that the veil has ever, it's supposed to be all year. And we had an investigation on that exact day, quiet as hell, really.
Yep.
In fact, I think it was after midnight, so it would have been November 1st, where we actually got something in the bowling alley. I think it was after midnight at that point in time. But even if it wasn't, I honestly did not see any sort of uptick in all of these theories of what is supposed to, especially like dead time. 3 a.m. is supposed to be the haunting hour, the witching hour, or whatever it is. I've had just as much, energy or experiences and whatnot at 11 p.m. as I've had at 2 a.m. I've had at 3 a.m. Most investigators don't go that long to investigate.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of theories out there, including that one, that, yeah, they sound great. And I think that it has some place in what we do. But for the most part, at least when it comes to my experiences, it really just doesn't pan out that well. But it could be interesting either way. But no, I like that, because that's a question.
Good question.
Good question, Lauren.
Something, because there's not, like you guys said, there's not a lot of research or like substantial research on it. So I'm just like super curious about it. So just kind of wanted to get your guys' opinion. So thank you. I appreciate it.
And I think the only way that you would actually be able to fully research that is you would have to have a long string of investigations at the exact same place and see what happens.
Yeah, you'd have to have a residency somewhere, basically.
Yeah. Like you would have to be. I'll just take Edinburgh Manor, or whatever, which we're going to be at the end of March with an event. Looking forward to that. But plug. That's exactly what it was. Well, I haven't even announced it yet, so it doesn't mean anything to anybody. Just that we're going to be there and people can come. But you would literally have to be there at least every other day, every day, or whatever, to have a string of investigations where it was normal and a string of investigations when it was lightning out. And see if maybe that's enough to go either way. Yeah. All right, who's next?
I will do one. And this is kind of a classic question, and I know we've had conversations about it before, but I think it's worth asking just to kind of reiterate our philosophies on it. And more for the audience than anything. Hopefully the audience that's watching this right now. So I want to get your guys' take on what you think the difference between a ghost hunter and a paranormal investigator is, and what is that hard line between them, if there's a difference, if you think there is any, which like I know the answers to this because it's actually one of the interview questions that Mike asks. So, but just to make it known, I want to hear your guys' philosophy on that.
It is a question that is asked a lot still.
Yeah.
So does anybody want to take a crack at it?
I can start, I guess.
Sure.
Or Scott, do you want to go?
Scott, you want to go?
Go ahead.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
So I guess I certainly think that there is a difference. And I think the way that, I guess this actually does kind of relate back to when we first talked to Mike before we joined, Sam and I first talked to Mike before we joined the team. And I think
Lauren too.
I think the way that Mike phrased it was like, I need to know if you are interested in investigating or if you're just trying to get spooked. And I think that is a pretty big difference between what a hunter is and an investigator. I think people who go ghost hunting just kind of wanted to be the thrill of it. They want to be scared. They want to see if they can maybe, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Provoke
that. Yeah. Thank you. That's the word. Provoke, a spirit into giving them an experience. Mm-hmm. They're very much in it for their own experience and for themselves. And I think that, while we do sometimes go to locations just to check it out for ourselves and to maybe get some answers, I think that investigators aren't just in it to get scared. Obviously we have fun, but part of the reason we're there is to get answers, to help people a lot of the time, especially with private home investigations. So I guess I think that would be the difference, is like that scare factor for me is a big difference between the two.
Am I supposed to call on somebody?
Yeah, I think the Ghost Hunter is more amateurish as far as I'm concerned. They don't really know what they're doing necessarily. They're just going out for fun. The paranormal investigator is more professional in what they're doing. They know the equipment. They know the theories behind of what you're doing and have a better idea of what they're doing. And the paranormal entertainers know nothing about what they're doing. They're just out there to perform for an audience, and are very annoying.
I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much what I have to say.
Yeah,
You're up, Lauren.
I can kind of echo that. I was when Sam was posing the question, I was thinking like thrill seeker versus more professional kind of thing. So definitely kind of following what Scott said. That's kind of how I've always seen them, just because, Ghost Hunter, you're seeking a experience and a thrill, kind of like everybody said, you're going for just, I want to go see if I can get spooked and then see what happens kind of thing. Whereas investigator, you're looking at all the different routes of, okay, what if something does happen, what could it be? We're going to approach it in a very more scientific kind of analytical viewpoint. And I think that's a much better way of going about researching in a field that people still don't know a whole lot about in the grand scheme of things. So I think definitely paranormal investigator is, definitely where everybody should be aiming, but you still get the ghost hunters. So,
So the funny thing is about that, about the whole ghost hunter, paranormal investigator, and the line that separates the two is the people that made it popular, that term, ghost hunter, are paranormal investigators.
Yeah, right.
And I always found that to be hilarious, like ironic and hilarious. But I agree with pretty much everything you guys have said. And I think it's a thing of training and understanding what it is you are doing. Because there are ghost hunters out there who do get into it to help people. They're trying to be professional or whatever, but they're the ones that are going to go into the home and they're going to provoke. They're going to get scared. They're going to book it out of the house, and they're going to be like, that's too dangerous. I can't put myself in that situation. Well, you wouldn't have been in that situation if you knew not to do what you had done.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with the frightened thing. I think that they're the ones that go to all of these haunted locations, like Edinburgh Manor, like the Grand Opera House, like Farrar, and they record themselves investigating to put it on YouTube in order to be popular. Regardless of their goals or however you want to refer, why they're doing such things as even going into homes and to help people, you can't help them if you don't understand what the hell you're doing. A lot of people, they go in, they ask a bunch of questions, they provoke a little bit, and to them, everything is a spirit. Everything is a ghost. So when they go over their evidence, even if they're matrixing like movement of genes and stuff like that, and believe me, it has happened. Even in my career, I've mistaken movement or voices in another room for a faraway recorder as a possible EVP. And if I hadn't done my due diligence of listening to other recorders and being like, oh, that actually sounds exactly like what I heard on the other one, and found out that it was just a misidentification, I would have put that out there as a legitimate piece of evidence. So I think, like I said, I think it's a training thing. I think it's a motivation, like mentality type thing as to what is going on. But I agree with Scott. I hate them with a passion. I can't tell you how many times like I've even helped a client and they're like, "Can I join your team?" No, you can't. Oh, well, I'm just going to go start my own then. I'm like, no, you should not do that. I would consider them ghost hunters. They're the ones that we have to go in and clean up after when we're called in after they fail. So, I mean, there's something that I'm going to expand on this one a little bit, because there's something that I read the other day that absolutely infuriated me. And I'd like for you guys to get your take on this. So this is what I read.
But before you do that, could I just add to it? And then
100%.
we can
have at it.
Yeah. I think it's also just a difference in like respect level, right? Like if you meet a paranormal investigator and you know right away, pretty much when you meet someone like at events, I can tell which people there are ghost hunters and which people there are actually aspiring paranormal investigators. Like there's just a certain level of respect that investigators usually maintain to a location, like treating spirits as if they were people, which they are, like, and that level of respect that goes into that, and not treating them as if they're there to entertain you, you know, and like getting upset if they don't entertain you, you know. So it's the approach, it's the level of respect, but it's also like the commitment to actually finding answers and the commitment to fixing problems, right? Because like if we ever go to a house that scares the shit out of me, like there is a negative entity in there or there's a demon, I might run away, you know, if something really terrifying happens. But it's also like I think an investigator is going to go back in and try to get down to the root of the problem, or at least not completely abandon the person that owns the house. And at least like I can't go back in there, but I'm going to find someone who can take care of that problem for you, instead of like, well, you're on your own now. Like I can't do that anymore. So it's also just a commitment to actually finding solutions to paranormal problems, or, you know, doing your due diligence and going over the evidence, like Mike said, and like debunking everything. And when you hold it to the highest scrutiny and it still holds up, presenting that as your evidence, you know.
And you made a phenomenal point about the respect thing. I mean, that's one of my top, you know, mentalities of the paranormal is these spirits do not owe you anything. You know, they're not there for our entertainment, for your entertainment, or anybody's. And I think that's a phenomenal point about the whole respect thing, because paranormal investigators, for the most part, are not going. Oh, there's Scott turning off his phone again.
Calling card. Scott's calling card.
But yeah, I lost my train of thought because of Dumbledore over there. So, so I do want to read this to you guys.
Yeah,
for sure. And it's from a currently somewhat popular person in the paranormal. They do have a followers, a platform, you know, or whatever. They're up there where people might actually listen. So he wrote this: for the ghost hunters out there, amateur or old school, here's a reminder that the stuffy folks who try and say that real paranormal researchers only help people or scientifically study the supernatural are full of it. It's okay to have fun, dabble, conjure, play.
That's really dangerous.
So as people who have been out there, and especially who know me, your initial reactions to that?
I have to think about this for a moment so I don't say something stupid. I mean, my knee-jerk reaction to that is just like, okay, if you're of our opinions and our level of respect, just using the term play is such a problematic thing for me, because if you are actually going in and respecting these people as people that are there for whatever reason, this is one of the answers you're trying to find, right? It's like, why are you still here? You know, why are you still at this location? Is there something keeping you here? Do you choose to be here? Blah, 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 blah. if you're actually treating the spirits that are there as people, the fact that you're walking into a location and playing for fun and trying to get experiences and reactions, it's not respectful. It's at all. It's the same people. It's absolutely the same people that film those prank videos. You can't see my quotations. The prank videos on YouTube that like prank like innocent people that don't know who are what's going on, and like incredibly rude pranks that aren't funny. It's those same people, because they don't realize that they're interacting with, I mean, we believe real people that have real souls and real thoughts and things like that. It's like, it's not supposed to be an environment that you go run around and play in. It's like, there is a certain amount of respect you have to give. Like, yes, it's okay to have fun. It's fun to go to a place like Waverly Hills, like St. Augustine Lighthouse, or put your famous haunted location here. It's fun to go there and do it, but you still need a level of respect. It's, you're going there to have a fun time, but you are not going there demanding an entertaining experience because you paid $500 to rent out the place for the night, or whatever, how much it would be. It's just absolutely ridiculous to me how just like disrespectful people can be, just because, there's that barrier there where it's just like, well, they're not really people, or at least I'm not going to respect them as actual people. It's yeah, that's ridiculous. There's absolutely, yeah, not. I've said all I can about it. I've exhausted my thoughts.
That's fair. Anybody else have anything to add to that? You don't necessarily have to, but
I mean, I think that like having fun and taking an investigation seriously don't have to be like mutually exclusive things.
Yeah, right.
Like the assumption that we're not having fun, like we have all kinds of fun, but that doesn't mean that we have to provoke a spirit to do that. Like you can ask them fun questions, or like, example, like the cat toy. That's kind of funny that you got these cat toys that we're going to bring with. And I think like maybe they'd get a kick out of that. It's like, yeah. And like Sam said, it kind of, using the word play and then also the word conjure, I don't love that. I don't think we should be conjuring anything.
Oh yeah, conjure. I didn't even touch on that. Look, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean by conjure?
You've exhausted your thoughts, Sam.
Sam?
Sam? No, now I have it. Now I'm reminded. It's like, what, you're like drawing a transmutation circle on the floor and summoning a demon from hell? Is that what you're doing? Like, I don't get what conjure means. The spirits are already there. You're not conjuring shit. Like, I don't get it. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have much else to add other than Sam kind of nailed it. I don't know what I'm trying to say. The phrase
Nailed it.
Whatever. The whole play thing takes out like the respect aspect, I think. So that's it. You're not like going to play with like a dog, like they're people.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's my thoughts.
Either you two have something to add, or has it pretty much been said?
I think it's pretty much been said.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that came to my mind was dangerous, because you're like, as we know, there are very serious consequences to things that you conjure. I don't really like that word at all in that sense. And again, it comes down to the respect aspect. You have to have some level of respect when you're dealing with things that could have a lot more power than you do, and you don't know what the consequences of those actions are going to be. You could put other people in harm without even meaning to. So I think it comes down to the respect aspect, and I don't think that's the conjure and playing. I don't like those words either. I don't think that's a good way of putting it.
I don't even like dabble, but my initial response beyond dangerous was reckless, because you have people who are just, like I said, it's not like this person is not in the paranormal. They just like the shows and they have a following of 20 people. I mean, this is a person who has, I think undeservedly become an example or like a representative of the paranormal field. And to tell people who follow him, who probably 80% don't know what the F they're doing when it comes to the paranormal, to be like, go ahead and take out that Ouija board. Go ahead and read that spell book. Go ahead and try to, summon something. Let's just see what happens. Is not only dangerous, but just reckless. So when I read that, I about flipped my fucking lid. I keep, when it comes to like online and social media and shit, I keep my opinion to myself because it's my opinion and nobody else has to share it. That right there was just about going to make me break my silence. But again, it would have been completely meaningless.
I mean, we did break the silence on it technically.
Yeah, but I meant like directly to this person.
Yeah.
I get you. Responding directly to him. So I just wanted to, since we were talking about the whole ghost hunter, paranormal investigator thing, that came into my head, and I was like, oh, well, let me just bring that up there. Haley, Scott, your topic?
No. I only came up with one actually.
That'll work for this week.
Yeah. Last night I was talking to my sister, and she was asking me if we went to our scary place on Halloween.
Our scary place.
Our scary house, yeah. And
we have a scary house?
Yeah. I told her we were going to a supposedly haunted hotel. So she was asking me if we went and if we had a good time and everything. And I told her it wasn't particularly scary and it was pretty quiet. And she said, well, I think it's all just a big joke. Don't get mad at me, but it's just a big joke. Do you guys get that kind of thing from people?
I've actually, I found that a lot of people are, a lot more people than I would have expected are like very interested in it. Like whenever I in passing mention or like it somehow comes up that I'm on a team or I'm wearing my hat or I'm wearing my mask, and they'll ask me about it. A lot of people are interested, even if they don't believe, they're like super interested in what I have to say about it and like the fact that I am on a team, So I think more often than not, I find that people are interested and then like more people believe in it than I would think. And like people that my initial like opinions on them were that they were like a super scientific and logical person. And like they would never believe in the supernatural because, a lot of people that are like that, are, don't even give the possibility that there are things we haven't discovered yet, even though science is entirely about, not entirely, but like a large portion of science is doing research to discover things we haven't discovered yet. So I find more often than not, I don't think I've ever gotten like a negative reaction from a person. I think it's only a matter of time before somebody like says like, oh, it's just a bunch of BS or whatever. I think the closest we got is when we went to the Grand Opera House in Dubuque, and the caretaker there is like a devout
Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy is like a devout skeptic, not even a skeptic, like a denier. That's the closest I've gotten. Otherwise, everyone I tell about it is super like interested and like fascinated by it.
I just really quick about Tracy. I honestly think in my heart that he just does that for fun because he likes being the skeptic. But I mean, so many stories have come to, because he's a smart guy. He's a smart guy, very down to earth, very logical. Mm-hmm. And I honestly just think that he does believe, but it's so much more entertaining to him to be like, no, that's nothing. Or I can't explain that right now, but I don't believe. Like, I think that's just fun for him. And if he sees this video, he can correct me if I'm wrong. So, Lauren, anything to add to that one?
I mean,
you haven't had this situation for a long time now, but I'm assuming you probably told some people.
Yeah, and I've talked to people about it because I've like been interested in the paranormal since I was 10 or 11. So it's been a while, and I've talked to a few people about it. And I guess I don't get many people saying like, "Oh, well, that's not real." I get more people saying like, "Oh, I'm kind of in the middle." I get people that say they're very subscribed to the fact that energy is neither created nor destroyed. They don't really know what happens to it. Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. So I found a lot of people kind of hovering in that middle ground. And then like one or two people that are like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I totally subscribe to the fact that there are spirits, there are entities, things like that." But more so people around the middle, I would say.
I absolutely love open-minded skeptics, the ones that are, I'm not really a believer, but if you can prove it to me, you can change my mind. Yeah. It's the cynics that I absolutely hate, because you just can't argue with crazy. And they're the ones that I don't like. They're the ones that'll tell you, "Oh, everything you're doing is complete BS," regardless of what you bring to them. But ask them to go on an investigation with you, and they'll quickly say no.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Jason Hawes said it best. I'm going to give him full credit for saying, he goes, a skeptic and a cynic is pretty much just somebody who's never had an experience, and that's fine. If you want it proved to you, I will try to prove it to you. If you want to go on an investigation and experience it, I will give you that opportunity. But if you're just going to, no matter what I bring to you, try to come up with some bullshit reason for why it's crap, then there's no reason for me to do it. It's just one of those things you're going to have to agree to disagree. That's, yeah. I actually personally have never had anybody say that to me. I do have friends who are in the "I don't believe it, but I'm open to you proving it to me." I do have those friends, but they fully support what I do. They know that I love it, and they don't say a word, and that's all I care about.
Those are good friends.
Those are good friends. I do have, despite what I say that I have no life, I do have very good friends. Haley, what about you? Oh, sorry. What?
It's okay. Go ahead, Haley.
Oh, no, I think I've also had a surprising amount of people be like, "Oh yeah, that's really interesting to me," or like I've never had anybody flat out be like, "That's bogus." And I think I've had a surprising amount of people also like, I'll bring it up to them and they'll tell me about experiences that they've had, So like, I mean, I think I was talking to like my boss at my tutoring job, and she was like, "Oh yeah, well, my house is like haunted, like her childhood home that she's grown up in." She was like telling me all about it. And I was like,
childhood home, never the one they're living in.
Right. I know. Exactly. But I mean, like, and then I always get, like, "Oh, that's really cool, but I would never do that." Like, they're just like, "Oh, you're so brave for doing that. I don't want to do it." So I guess that's the general response I get. But no, I don't think I've ever had anybody be like aggressive about it. I've had people certainly be like, "It's not my thing." And I'm like, respect, I guess. As long as you're not going to tell me what to believe, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, Haley, you're up.
Okay. I'm trying to decide which one I should go with. Do you want me to say both and you guys can say which one's better?
No.
Or okay, you want to pick one?
Yeah.
No, he does not. Okay, well, this one might be kind of tricky because I don't even know if I know the answer or have much thoughts on it, but I thought I'd give it a shot. So I guess, as investigators, we look over a lot of evidence, and one of the things that people kind of look at a lot is orbs. So I wanted to ask you guys what you think qualifies something as actually being a good orb, if there can be one.
It's like,
I mean, I'll I'll preface this by saying I'm never ever impressed by orbs. I don't
trained you
like
well,
them at
Sam.
all. Actually, I might go as far as to say I hate orbs. They're just not ever impressive. So like I know I can regurgitate the criteria that other people say, like, having a seemingly intelligent path and self-producing light and stuff like that. But like at the end of the day, even if it has those things, I don't care. So that's my opinion.
Lauren, Scott.
Um, yeah, I would kind of echo what Sam said. I think for an orb to really stand out to me, I think it has to have like at least semi intelligent movement, not like just flash across the screen really quick. And I've seen a few videos, they could be totally fake or dust. I have no idea, but non-circular shapes, I think, are
Got a lot of
very,
those. Yeah.
yeah, a lot more convincing to me than just a circle of light kind of thing, because that could so easily be dust or a bug or something like that. But I would say like probably 95% of the time I'm like less than impressed.
I was going to add, even though you haven't been out with us yet, I did give you the DVR footage from the Sugar Shack.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have seen the camera that picks up every piece of dust in the world that could ever be in that room. But so, I mean, was there anything in there that was particularly interesting to you when it came to that stuff, or was it just dust?
It was a lot of dust.
It was a lot of dust.
It was a lot of dust.
Shack, yeah.
Like at any given point in that footage, there were probably at least 10 different particles of dust visible, like lighted up by the screen. So yeah, a lot of dust.
Yeah, DVR. If you ever want to know, and I use this joke a lot, but if you ever want to know how dirty your room is, or your living room or whatever, train a DVR camera in IR and then walk around, and we'll see how dusty everything is.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, what about you?
Yeah, I don't think anything of orbs. There's some kind of explanation for all of it. 99% of it, I would say. That's every once in a rare occasion we might see something that's interesting, but like Lauren said, it's not the little round see-through things that are interesting. It's the unusual things that pique my interest that don't come very often.
Yeah. I don't even have to look at footage, and everyone's like, even people like guests or clients that are looking at the DVR footage, as it's coming in, like they're at base camp, and they're like, "Oh, did you see that?" Or they're like, "What's that?" I don't even have to look at it to know that it's dust. And I'm just like, "It's dust. It's dust." Oh, but it was so big. It's right in front of the camera lens. It's dust. And I see photos all the time of people look at all these orbs, and I'm like, it's all dust. For me, as Sam said earlier, it has to have some sort of intelligent type movement to it, especially if it comes to a complete stop and then starts moving again. That to me right there is probably the only thing, even though I have videos of orbs on my evidence because it did something cool, but now I'm like so rigid against it. I don't think it'll be ectoplasm before it'll be an orb. But if it does something like that, where it just comes to a stop and then continues on, dust can't do that, at least not as far as I'm aware. And I actually, for the first time, and this is what I want to show you guys when we get together for our scary place investigation. But for the very first time on the camcorder, not DVR, on the camcorder, which does not really pick up dust, there's like this orb thing that comes flying in from the right and goes up, down, left, right, stops and continues on. But just as it continues on, that's when the REM pod went off.
Oh shit.
And it's the very first time ever where I've had two interesting things that kind of corroborated with each other. You remember that Scott, when the REM pod went off in the bowling alley?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll show it to you. It could be a bug. That's what you guys are for, to say what you think that is. But it's interesting. Like I said, I think I probably would show it to you just to get your opinion, but not really care which way it went. But because the REM pod part is in there now, I'm like, well, that's kind of compelling. So we'll see what you guys think, obviously, when we have it. So
yeah. I was going to comment on that, Mike, just like with the orbs, I think, because I also agree with you guys, I'm skeptical of them pretty much all the time. But I think if it were to coincide with some other piece of evidence, like the REM pod, or if someone is having, chill up their spine and you see an orb on camera right there, that might be interesting. But yeah, that I agree with you on that part, I guess.
Yeah, it's like that one piece of it's like that one piece of evidence that you like to show sometimes of like they're pointing the camera and it's like up a stairwell and there's a flashlight on the stair and then something moves down into frame, the flashlight shuts off and then it goes past. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, the mustache.
Yeah, the mustache, the flying mustache. That's interesting because it comes out of nowhere, it manifests on frame, the flashlight turns off as it's going, like right when it goes past it, and then it like disappears in the frame too.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Not just like a dot of light or whatever, just like floating around the screen. Like, what is that proving to people? Like, how is that compelling at all? We hold evidence to very high scrutiny, and that's why like when we go to events like Ashmore and we have like a collective, like we have like 4 or 5 hours of investigation each night, times however many recorders we have, times however many camcorders, DVR, blah 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 blah, just tens of hours of footage. We'll only produce like 3, 4, 5 pieces of evidence because like we hold it under so much scrutiny. If there's any doubt, it's not evidence anymore. It's like something interesting. So like, yeah. And orbs are held under the highest scrutiny, especially on this team.
They really are. So I mean, like that's my thing from the chase of audio. I mean, but out of everything that I wrote down, maybe 2 might make it through.
Yeah.
To actually be considered decent enough evidence to not only post, but to present to our client. And I've told you guys this a lot, and I still hold it. I still hold it. Where if you would not show that to a client, why even write it down?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not going to be good enough for that level, there's no reason to even present it. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, a couple things that I wrote down. I'm sure it's probably Scott talking or whatever, and he's going to tell me if it is or not. Yeah. So let's get good. We each got our one topic in, which means next week's already set.
Yay!
Good for all of us. So for anybody that is watching this later, and I'm assuming there's a lot of people that are going to watch this later. If you have any questions, stories, anything, you can go ahead and either direct message me here on the Odyssey Facebook page, or you can interview. You can email me at odysseyfilesradio@gmail.com, and we'll add that into next week's show. And I don't even know if I said it at the beginning, and I certainly didn't say it during. But for anybody that has a question or their own take on anything that we have talked about or will talk about in the future, go ahead and write it in. Nobody has to just sit here and watch us talk to each other. Become part of it. Say something. If you see something, say something. Isn't that what everybody always says? There you go. We're at DEFCON 4 right now. I don't know if it goes up that high, but so anyway, thank you guys all for coming up or coming in, whatever. spending an hour with the team. And yeah, we'll have one before Thanksgiving. Sweet Thanksgiving Eve, baby. So here's what we're gonna do next week, in honor of Thanksgiving, and this is a way that we're gonna be together. I want everybody to just be eating shit all hour long. Just you guys want to make popcorn, have some chips, have some like a turkey drum stick, whatever you want. We'll just chow down during the show and I'll talk with our mouths full. So it'd be a great show.
Yeah. Great radio. Great radio.
Great radio.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to let you believe that, I guess. So, all right. So everybody watching, have yourselves a great week. And again, odysseyfilesradio@gmail.com. If you want a question, story, topic, maybe you want a topic that you want us to cover, go ahead and send that for the show next week. So everybody have a great night.